Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Welcome back after gap of a few days. The last time that we were looking at the mantras of the Upanishad, we said that it is the mind of the mind, the prana of the prana, Atma. After that, we said, meaning mind of the mind means that the mind cannot know it, but it is because of which the mind knows. That's the meaning of that. And then immediately the question comes in, how do we know it? And the Rishi goes and says, right the opposite, and says, yes, you have to know it with the mind. You already said you can't know it with the mind because it's the mind of the mind. But then the Rishi says, yes, the only instrument that we have for knowing anything at all is the mind. The ignorance of Atma is in the mind, and therefore knowledge must also happen in the mind. Ignorance of anything for that matter is in the mind. So knowledge also happens in the mind. So it was said, Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Very beautiful, important statement. I'm sure you'll have underlined it. Please do so. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Na ihana nasti kinchana. This truth is such that once realized, no dualities remain. No dualities of the seer and the seen, the knower and the known, the experiencer and the experience. These dualities end. This is what is explained here. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Now come some interesting questions. Are you all ready to think? Okay. Now, see, it is very, very difficult to understand this world. Do you agree with me? You know, the type of events that happen, we are in a small little world, you know, surrounding us. Even if we read world news and all also, I mean, we really get to know very little about what is actually happening all around the world. And that itself is strange. That itself is like beyond understanding. What is going to happen next and how events take place and such unexpected things. And you know, it's very, very difficult for a, you know, an economist has one way only of looking at things. Lawyer has a different way of looking at the whole world. Our whole world, all our worlds are like, you know, little small worlds. When you just think of this total, just this earth, we're talking about not even the whole universe, we're just talking about this earth. If you take your own country, if you take your own society, even if you take your small infrastructure wherever you're working, in a school or a organization or a small ashram or something, so many things which are complicated, which are completely beyond our understanding. Do you agree? So I keep repeating the statement again and again and again. Sansaro ayam ativa vichitra. This world is extremely vichitra, strange, very, very difficult to understand. So the world itself is very difficult to understand beyond the mind. You know, the mind can't grasp everything and all aspects and all different multitude innuendos and these different things that are happening. It's difficult for the mind even to grasp that part. Then, the world is complicated. You know how relations are. Relations also are so complicated. Nothing is as simple. You know, you just, you have two friends. Okay, fine. In that also so many complexes and, layers of relationships. And, in one time there's respect also, and yet there is the not that great feeling also, and then there is a love also, but combined with some hate also. Big, big, complicated. Nothing is just simple. Like, okay, fine, two people are there, and they're just there. That's nothing is like that. Everything seems so complex in relations, in your life, in the mysteries of the human body and the human. It's so complex. Okay, fine, difficult to understand. Then let's talk of God. Now, this is very interesting. We will say, oh God, we always talk of God like, God, you please try to understand. So we must say once in a while that, okay, God, let me try to understand you also. We always say, you try to understand. So he doesn't understand, first of all. He understands us much better than we can understand ourselves. But anyway, so I want us to now think a little bit. This is a thinking that you have to do it with me. Yeah. It's mind-blowing and it's worth doing. Just imagine how much money you have with you, let us say. I don't want it, I'm just asking you a question. So you have this much of money. Now imagine how much knowledge you have. So you have a little bit of knowledge. Each one of us has some little bit of knowledge. And imagine how much strength we have. So right now I don't have that much of it, but anyway, there's some strength also that we have. Now if you see our whole, wherever we are staying in that whole area, everyone put together how much money we have. Just imagine. Wild imagination doesn't matter. You're not in the income tax department, so you don't have to know exactly how much who has got. But I imagine how much money there. So you will say, my God, crores of rupees. If you're Indian, then the dollars or whatever currency that you're measuring. How much of strength, just that area that you stay in, how much people have strength, everyone's strength put together. And how much of knowledge you all put together becomes a sizable amount. You have to use your imagination, okay? Now, think about the city you live in. How much total money will be there in that city that you live in? Totally beyond your imagination. There will be crores of rupees, depending on the size of the city, of course, and it's still difficult to imagine. You don't know how much money each of them would have, and it's a lot of money, billions of rupees, maybe hundreds. You're crores of rupees. You don't know really. Already the imagination is stopped, I'm sure. How much of strength you think everyone in the city together would have? It's a lot, uncountable. How much of knowledge, it's a lot. Now we are talking about one city, one state of the country. Think of how much knowledge, strength, and money is there in just one state. Totally. Now think India, even though it's not considered as the most developed country and all of that, yet, if you think of the sheer amount of money that is there in India, it's just unthinkable. Remember, everyone in India has so much of gold stored with them. That is a big thing, big amount of money that we all have. So money, strength, the population, come on. And the knowledge, unbelievable. So all of that now, multiply that. Now imagine in, let's say, one continent. Unthinkable. The strength, the money, the knowledge, just in one solitary. Now, on this earth, how much money? How much strength? How much knowledge? And you all know, when you look into the sky, you see millions of stars. And all these stars that you see with your naked eye belong to only one Milky Way. How many such Milky Ways are there in the whole universe? There are uncountable. So, the scriptures as though, like let's say one Milky Way is like one Brahmanda, approximately. And which one Brahmanda has millions and millions of stars. With in all those millions and millions of stars, naturally every star is a sun with planets. And as per the Sambhava Pramana that we have already talked about, there may be so many earths. There is definitely the possibility of so much of life. There's definitely the possibility of knowledge and strength and all the money. Maybe they have a different way of exchange. Now think, who is God? You see, he's the totality of everything. Totality means sarvagnya. Now this meaning of the word omniscient must strike us. Remember, we're talking about what? Knowledge. On this earth only the knowledge is unimaginable. I'm talking about the knowledge of millions of universes. That knowledge, that is called the omniscience of God. When we talk of omnipresent or all strength, when we talk about that, now look at the strength that we have on this earth. And million, billion time multiplied, that strength is the strength of God. So we are not talking about a strength. Now from that strength of God, totality, Sarvagnya, Sarvashaktiman, God, come down to our level straight away. Now think of your knowledge, your strength, and think of God's knowledge, God's strength. Straight away. Now, can this individual I, the Jiva, with that little strength or little knowledge, ever conceive of that totality of strength and that totality of knowledge? Our imagination stopped long back. Isn't it true? Now think of that. So it says the mind, we say the mind, the capacity of, how can this mind, the small little part, conceive of that immense totality, that unbelievable, unthinkable totality? So the world is difficult to understand with the mind. Life is difficult to understand with the mind. Relationships are difficult. God, as the totality of everything, is so difficult. Then God as an incarnation. When he takes the form of a Krishna or a Rama or a Shiva as a particular form. Now imagine that infinite taking a form and playing a role like a Rama crying for a Sita or going after a Ravana. What is a Ravana for a Rama? And yet playing all the roles just so that he can inspire people like us, to walk the path of dharma, to do good, invoke love in our hearts, and Krishna through all his beautiful pranks, where we think of it, our heart fills with love and devotion. Now, how difficult it is for the human mind to think of all these leelas and sports of the avatara of God also. Isn't it true? And what is even more difficult to understand? A realized master. Now imagine you and I, in our normal course of life, we only meet people who are like us, jivas, simple, ordinary people, who think of ourselves as a body, we go around in the world, all the typical things that we do and all that. And amongst us walks some great Mahatma like a Swami Chinmayananda or a great Swami Vivekananda and some great Mahatmas like that, who talk like us, walk like us. You can't make out. They eat, they sleep, they have also stomach pains, they have heart problems, they have all types of things just like you and I have, and yet they are free. What a unbelievable, And they are Mukta Purushas, they are realized masters, they have realized their own true nature. So, with this effort that they put, they realize the self. And then says, therefore, we have to put forth efforts. Manasaiva, with your mind, with our mind. Mind having the qualities of Sukshmata, Ekagrata, and Shuddhata, or as in the Vedantic language, Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Damadi, Shat Sampatti, and Mukshikam. Such a mind, very, very important. The mind has to be of a particular quality to realize this. There's a lovely example given in our scriptures about the nature of the mind of a real, which can know the truth. It's very interesting. They say, it's a mythical thing that they say that the milk of a lioness if it's put in an ordinary patram or vessel, the vessel will break. It has to be put in a gold vessel. It cannot be held by any other. Similarly, this Brahma Jnanam, this Atma Jnanam, the vessel that you have to have it in, the mind that you have to have, has to have its particular type of a patra, a particular type of vessel. Not any vessel. Now, this I have not proved, whether this, I'm not going to try also. There's no way that we're going to get a lioness and milk her and find out whether the truth is. This is the explanation given of the type of mind that is required, a very special mind that is required. And by all means, we have to do sadhana, we have to do everything we possibly can to make this mind of a particular type so that it is capable of getting Atma-Jnana. I'm so happy that a lot of you have continued to do the sadhana very, very sincerely and are doing our best, to see that our mind becomes as pure. A mind which is filled with love, a mind which is filled with peace, a mind which is non-judgmental, a mind unprejudiced, which does not, give in to negativity, which remains positive, which remains, lively and, full of energy and well-being and, good feelings for others, good intentions in our heart and all of that. These things help, for this knowledge to sink in. Now, when it is said that manasa eva anudrashtavyam, and then the next verse gives it very beautifully, ekadha eva anudrashtavyam. Ekadha means it is known the same. This is what I explained also the concept, that knowledge is true to the object. Knowledge does not depend on an individual. If I have to know a thing, I have to know it as it is and not as I want to know it. And therefore, three people, if they have realized the truth, then their realization will be the same. Because they know the same truth. The same way they will have realized it. And that is why, if you remember, we had talked about this, is there one path to the truth or many paths? So we had said, there are many paths by which you can purify the mind, but there's only one way of knowing the truth, because ignorance is what is causing the problem. Knowledge is the solution to it. There is no other way of getting by. Now, they say no, by the path of devotion also you can know the truth. True. In the path of devotion, God gives you this knowledge. Shabari got this knowledge from God directly. But she did get the knowledge and she realized it. Get it? So, can we walk the path of devotion? True enough, walk the path of devotion. God will give you the knowledge. So that mind will become so ready and surrender so completely to God. And then God becomes, so to speak, your guru, and you get your knowledge. Yeah? Or you have Guru Bhakti also, you surrender completely, your love for the Guru, and you're tuning up with the Guru. The mind has become of that, ready, absolutely ready, and the knowledge from the Guru just goes, and you get the knowledge. So all that is possible. Absolutely. Now, there is a certain concept of Vedanta which Most of you who have heard Vedanta would have known it, and yet I am going to stress this. These are simple principles of Vedanta which we must understand. Vedanta says, I think we did talk about the initial stages of introduction sessions. I talked about Bahiranga Sadhana, Antaranga Sadhana, and Sakshat Sadhana. If not, I'll just, if you've forgotten it, we can just revise it quickly. Now, if you want to do target shooting, practice, rifle with this. The first preparation that you do is prepare the rifle. The putting into the bullet and all that doesn't come first. First, you prepare the rifle. You oil it and see that all the different parts working properly. It should not be rusted. It should work in a smooth way and all that. You don't do it by putting the bullet inside and then checking it out. No. You just first check it out and see that it's well oiled and everything. So you first prepare the rifle. After having prepared the rifle, you already know your target is there. You put in the bullets and all that, and then you steady your hand. See that your eyes, your gaze, and sometimes even your breathing is regulated. So beautifully you regulate your breathing, and your thinking, and your mind is focused. Everything becomes aligned. And after having done that, the final thing that you do is pull the trigger. Once you pull the trigger, there's nothing more you can do. Yeah, that's the final step. So step 1, prepare the rifle. Step 2, focus and all that. And step 3, pull the trigger. So the first is called the Bahiranga Sadhana, preparing the mind. Which we talked about. Then the step 2 is what Vedanta comes into there. We call the step 2 Antaranga Sadhana, which we call Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. These are words you may have heard. But we are going to again think about it a little bit because they are important. And then, of course, the pulling of the trigger is called Sakshat Sadhana. We'll get to that. Now, the Antaranga Sadhana. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is simple meaning listen. So, listening is a technical word in Vedanta. It doesn't mean just hearing what the teacher says. It does not mean even to be able to recall everything so well that you can almost repeat every word that the teacher said. No, still that is still not Shravana. Supposing the teacher said, what did I say? 1 hour talk, you could hold back and repeat. No, that's still not Shravana. Shravana means to get the import, the tatparya, the exact meaning of what the teacher was trying to tell you. If you've understood that, then you have done Shravana. I'm telling you, if only all these sort of things were taught in our school, half the effort of the teachers and everyone would become very different. If you just, the art of Shravanam is taught, what exactly is the teacher trying to say? Because sometimes the most useless information is stuck into the head of the students and the whole point is completely missed, and something which is completely irrelevant to the topic, which would have just been said by the by, becomes the main thing of what is said. Most misunderstandings in life could not arise if only we knew how this art of doing Shravana. You agree? So, what exactly is the teacher trying to say? What exactly is the person in front of us who's trying to communicate? What exactly are they trying to say? So this, many times it's the expressions also are important and the gestures are important. It's not just the words sometimes. All of that put together, exactly, we'll understand, oh, this is exactly what they're trying to say. The body language, the contact, where, which words they emphasize on. All this gives us the exact meaning of what the teacher is trying to tell you. So, in Vedanta, when you listen to the scriptures, now listening also, again, is a very, very important thing, is you'll have to listen to, whom do you listen to? So they say, a person who's Shrutriya Brahmanishtha. This is what is said. You approach the Guru. First of all, we are told. Not that the Guru comes to you, you approach the Guru. What do you mean by you approach the Guru? Meaning, when you want to know the truth, you go to the Guru. Not that I'm paying fees and all that, you better come to my house and, teach me for 1 hour Vedanta every day. That, you can do that, of course. But no, this must be, I want the truth. Now, the next verses we shall see tomorrow. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.